10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
SCTV now begins its programming day. Starring John Candy, Joe Flaherty, Eugene Levy, Andrea Martin, Catherine O'Hara, Harold Ramis, and Dave Thomas. Television like you've never seen before.
Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good golly, Miss Molly. Welcome to the Cult Comedy Crew, the show where we keep alive the memory of classic comedy shows and movies of the past. Ladies and gentlemen, and comedy aficionados, that's a word I always have trouble with, comedy lovers, gather around today as the Cult Comedy Crew embark on another journey down memory lane. Today, we are hosting a special celebration of one of the most iconic and hilarious television series to ever grace our screens, SCTV, or Second City Television for long. I am your host, that 70s rock fan, and today we're diving headfirst into the world of SCTV, where sketch comedy reigns supreme, and from the snow-covered streets of Melonville, wherever that was, there's a bunch of wacky characters and witty parodies broadcast out to the world. An ensemble cast of comedic geniuses, I'd have to say geniuses in some cases,
who
transformed themselves into a multitude of absurd personas, from the beloved bumbling and Bob and Doug McKenzie hosers right through to Edith Prickley and Sammy Maudlin and Guy Cavallero, and there's just so many, and we're going to talk about some of those today. And it was like a comedy laboratory, a place where people like John Candy and Eugene Levy and Rick Moranis and others, Catherine O'Hara, can kind of hone their skills, their comedy skills, and just a very unique format of sketches. And watching them again in the last few days, just killing myself laughing at many of those guys like Sammy Maudlin and Count Floyd, who introduced horror movies that weren't really horrible or frightening in the least. It wasn't just the sketches, it was the parodies. It was a masterclass in parody and skewering celebrities. So my fellow hosers, buckle up for this trip back in time as we relive the glory days of SCTV. So welcome to you all. Christian Delorme, who may join us later on the show, has already donated 10 Canadian dollars, which would have paid for an entire show of SCTV.
$10.
Christian, my friend, good. So hot right out of the gate. Canadian pesos for my buddy. It's okay if you buy scotch with that. Cheers. Well, I may well do that, and I think you deserve a little clip as a result.
She did it. She blowed up. She blowed up good. She really did it. She blowed up good. Blowed up real good.
Farm Film Report there. We'll be talking about that particular piece later on. Welcome to my wonderful panel who are here with me today. We're hoping a couple of fellow Canadians may be joining me soon, I hope. So, I mean, they've been invited. So, hosers, hose heads, a lot of them.
They don't show up.
Joe, my friend, how are you today?
Doing good, man. Doing good. I just learned something already. I had no idea Harold Ramis was on with that bunch when they started. Had no clue. That you want to talk about a comic genius? He's been involved in some of the greatest stuff ever. You know,
absolutely. And we're definitely going to talk about that, the origins of the show and his involvement and the different seasons as the cast changed. So he was a big player of the first season and a bit. So
notice Rick Moranis wasn't on there at the beginning.
Huh? No, so there was various comings and goings, and always too soon. Yep. That's not a SCTV joke. That's So anyway, thank you for joining me, Joe. John Das Wolfen, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing great.
Good.
Hope you're doing well.
Yeah, not bad. You're quite familiar with a lot of this material, I assume.
Yeah, I used to watch the reruns on WGN out of Chicago, and since the advent of YouTube, I've watched a lot of clips on YouTube, of course.
Oh yeah, good. Well, I look forward to your contribution today, because we're not just going to be playing stuff and showing images. We're going to be talking about just what made some of that stuff really good. I've certainly got my own opinions on that, but someone who's not shy of an opinion or two is our great friend Imperatus.
What's going on, 70s?
All right, mate. I'm doing good. How are you today?
Not too bad. Not too bad.
Yeah, you, of course, are known for your continuous hilarity and comedy chops.
Hey, as one of my friends put it many years ago, you may not always be funny, but when you are, you're pretty goddamn funny.
Exactly. You save it for
I have my moments.
Yes.
There you go.
So I'm sure you'll have a few pithy observations about some of the material we're going to be covering today. But before we get into that, I'd like to say hello to everybody in the chat. There's a bunch of people here already. Obviously, we've seen our great friend Christian Delorme, but also here with us is the great Jonah Hex. Dustin, a normal... is that showing on the stream? There we go. Dustin, Keto Simple. I'm having melon problems here. My melons are troubling me. Keto Simple is unable to join us today, but he's going to be in the chat. So, Dustin, your duty today, your mission, should you choose to accept it, is keep that chat in order. Good for you, buddy. Thank you. Lord Thoth is hoping to drop in later as a true hosehead. He will definitely be able to contribute to this Canadian content. As mandated by the Canadian government, I need to have at least one more Canadian panelist to make this show legit. Larry is here, 76 to 80 SCTV, and indeed it extended a little bit beyond that to about 85, 86 in various formats. Yep. David Glenn, good to see you, David. Thank you for being here. We also have D-Bud Martin, the great and wonderful D-Bud Martin, who does a lot of modding as well. Thank you very much for doing that, sir. It's great to see you as always. Kosho Dragon, nice to see you. There is someone else I wanted to point out, if I can just get my fingers to work. Yes, and people are mentioning characters already, so RIP to John Candy for sure.
Oh yeah,
we're definitely going to be talking about that huge star that came out of the show. The character of Mo Green was Harold Ramis. Indeed, he lasted a season or two. There's some interesting, but his story continued beyond his involvement in the show. The character of Mo Green.
I may not be Canadian, but I used to date a Newfie girl. Does that count?
Well, there's a number of things I could say about that would get me banned off YouTube. So, I mean, it's nice to see, though, you're dating outside of your species. I'm sorry. Couldn't resist that. I think I said I did. So, hi, Davina. Good to see you. Sentient Dildo's here. Good to see you, our great friend and Maud. Thank you for being here, my friend. Parrot Ed is here. Awesome to see you too. Larry, I'm not sure if I mentioned Larry. If I didn't, good to see you. Copa Catania is here. Good to see you. RG Godzilla 81. Good to see you, my friend. Yes, we're going to be talking SCTV very shortly. And we have another super chat. And I do appreciate these super chats, everybody. This helps to keep the channel going, keep it growing. We're doing our best to keep the lights on here. especially as I've not been able to work this year. So every little helps, and it all goes back into funding the show. So David said, thank you for the $5, David. Was Count Floyd based on the hilarious House of Frightenstein? Well, I don't know. So that's a good topic for discussion, because it could be deemed to be based on a number of prior shows, but the character of Count Floyd is interesting because he was a vampire who howled like a werewolf. So make of that what you will. We have a non-STV related clip, but somewhat tied in for you.
What kind of music do you usually have here?
Oh, we got both kinds. We got country and western.
Second City, Chicago alumni, and Toronto for Danny Aykroyd.
You know it, man.
Thank you, David, for that super chat. I really do appreciate it, mate. We'll get a couple more of those taken care of, and then we'll start talking about this wonderful show. Do a little bit of the history and the characters that were in it, and then I've got lots of clips to show, which is great today, so we can highlight some of the things we're talking about. Another $2 from Christian Delorme. Hey John, there's a reason they screech in Newfoundland. I'm sure there is. You're not going to get a video clip. You're going to get an audio clip.
Oh, good God!
Hey, over here for donuts. Don't listen to him, eh? He's a hoser.
Thank you, Christian. And I'm pretty sure I missed a super sticker from Darius, which for some bizarre reason isn't showing up in here.
Hang on.
Darius. Oh, there it is. I got it. Yeah.
It's rock and roll fingers.
So our great buddy Darius, who hope Darius is going to join us on the stream later, because he's a man who knows his comedy very well. Thank you for that $3, Darius. Appreciate it very much. And you can get another Bob and Doug audio.
Oh, it's going pretty good. Good day, eh?
Good day.
So good day to you, indeed. All righty. So we will return to the chat later. We will do our best to take coffee. We will do our best to check in with everything you're saying, as my one-man production skills are obviously going to crumble at some point. So let's talk about the origins of this wonderful show and why it was so wonderful, and then we'll talk about some of the characters. Oh, Christopher Haynes is here. Good to see you, Ruben. So I'm going to show some stuff. So the origins of SCTV go way back to 1975-76, and it grew out of the Toronto outpost of the Second City television, Second City stage production. Which
I was fixing to say, didn't they start as a stage troupe? Yeah,
it started in Chicago, and then they opened an outpost in the Great White North in Toronto. And Toronto, both of those produced a number of stars, as we know.
I think that's part of the confusion why some people think that it is an American show. The Second City is Chicago. That's the nickname of Chicago.
Yeah,
so that's why I think there's a lot of confusion about that.
Yeah, I mean, it could be regarded, and the Canadianness of it is a debatable point, because whilst they did some Canadian content, they really didn't emphasize that particularly, except in very certain instances of certain sketches. And then, of course, Bob and Doug were created just because of the Canadian content thing, as a joke by Dave Thomas to say "F you" to the Canadian government.
Yeah, you got it. Do you have that clip today?
I do. We're going to play that a little bit later.
Good.
So anyway, a bunch of these guys that were performing all the time in Toronto, John Candy, Joe Flaherty, Dave Thomas, Eugene Levy, they kind of got together with some producers and a veteran cast member from both Chicago and Toronto, Harold Ramis. And they said, why don't we make a TV show? And the reason they did this wasn't because they wanted to create high art, but they saw the success of some of their other Second City colleagues on SNL, and they were jealous and wanting to make a ton of cash and become famous. That's literally what Joe Flaherty said. It's not about art. These guys are getting famous, and we're still on stage, so it's our turn. And they kicked around a bunch of ideas about what the show should look like. And they finally settled on a parody, in a sense, of a a very small cable television network.
Yes.
So that was the format, and that allowed them to do a number of things with that format. And I'm not sure that wasn't it may have been an original idea to have that as a fake television station. Maybe somebody had done it before, I don't recall. But they then could create regular shows on that network, and they could have regular characters that ran the network and appeared on it, and therefore had long story arcs about those characters.
Mm-hmm.
And they could show all the backstage stuff as well as the shows that this micro-sized cheap station was putting in, and it was always strapped for cash. That was another thing. They were strapped for cash, hence the telethons they would always run. But it allowed them to do music and TV parodies, talk shows, commercials, fake commercials, game show skits, music shows, and just a ton of stuff on top of that. And so season 1, this is the season 1 cast, produced in Global TV in Toronto, in Ontario. And Global was a fairly small channel and really only had a number of stations broadcasting in Ontario. So season 1 in 76 through to 77 was 30 minutes, 26 episodes, 30 minutes long, but hardly seen by anybody, even in Canada. Some syndication in the US and in other places in Canada. But Global is a bigger station now, but it was quite small then. So, it was tough to get that audience out. But you've got Harold Ramis, Dave Thomas, John Candy, Joe Flaherty, Catherine O'Hara, Andrea Martin, and Eugene Levy. The first iteration of the show. So, yeah, Davina, we talked about this just before the show, Joe and I, and the others. There's things that were on this show that wouldn't be on.
You couldn't do it today. There's no way. There's no way.
There are some sketches that just would not be allowed. Let's put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
And season 1, though, it was a relative success, extremely low budget. And you could see it in some of the stuff they did. Very, very low budget. Harold Ramis was the head writer, I think, at this point, and very key to the writing quality of the show. They all wrote, but he was a lot of the ideas were his at this point. And they did well enough to get a second season. And apart from the initial episode or two, Harold Ramis dropped out because he was off to write Caddyshack at this point.
Yeah, he was about to blow up, no doubt about it. That guy, oof.
So they're still on Global. He exited, but he did write some material. He continued to write some of the material through season 2. The rest continued and on their way, kept going. But they did enough to capture the attention of NBC eventually. This, like season 2, 1, 2, more Canadians were watching it. Season 3, CBC picked it up, Canadian Broadcasting Corporation. They moved the production to Edmonton, which is why if you watch season 3, you'll see the hockey arena in Edmonton and quite a bit
really
being shown. They were a big team at the time, Edmonton Oilers. So season 3 moved there, and joining the cast. I mean, Candy kind of exited at this point.
Mm-hmm.
He's not in all of it. He's in some of season 3, but he came back later, of course. Rick Moranis joined, though, along with a couple of other people, Tony Rosato and Robin Duke, who stayed for one season, ended up in SNL.
Well, Harold probably dragged him away for Stripes somewhere in there.
Yeah. Well, this is it. Both Ramis and Candy were taken off, but Candy was very loyal to the show. He stuck very loyal to Rick Moranis joining, though, was a huge thing. Toronto, he was a Toronto DJ. Him coming in, he didn't cover up for Candy leaving, but of course it allowed things to be done, like the creation of Bob and Doug McKenzie.
Mm-hmm.
Dave Thomas was now the head writer as well. Very clever guy, Dave Thomas. So by the end of season 3, NBC picked them up. And NBC had a slot. They actually cancelled, I think it was Midnight Special for...
Yeah, that may be when the Midnight Special ended. Yeah,
for a late night.
That's where we got our first music videos, was that show right there.
Yeah, and they actually parody it. They have a Midnight Express Special is the title of the sketch. but it's a cross between Midnight Express, the movie, and they've got bands playing in the Turkish prison.
Oh no!
So I don't have a clip of that, but that's such a hilarious idea.
It sounds hilarious, man.
So this is possibly seen as the classic season 3, season 4, NBC, Friday, late Friday night, very late, like midnight onwards. And NBC really were honest. They said, we're only picking this up until we figure out what we want to do with our late night lineups. That's why after 2 seasons, it didn't really get traction. It got a lot of acclaim, but it didn't get the audience they wanted. And they said, nah, we're moving on now. But you've got a great lineup with the characters that they established before now appearing regularly as presenters and hosts and actors, and there's such great backstories to those characters. O'Hara dropped out for a while too, but she came back. I think she dropped out in season 3, came back season 4 as well. And then finally, towards the end of season 5.
Oh, look at that. Martin Short. God, he was a kid.
Martin Short joined towards the end of season 4 and then was there full-time through season 5. But at some point during season 5, Dave Thomas, Catherine O'Hara, and Rick Moranis left. But Candy had come back because he missed them. He was very loyal to this crew. But by the end of the NBC years, they offered them to move into Sunday. It was just a dead slot. The cast refused. So they got one final kick at the can as a 4-member cast on Cinemax, not Skinemax, Cinemax. 18 episodes, 45 minutes, with Flaherty, Levy, Martin, and Andrea Martin and Martin Short being the regulars at that point, with the others kind of making a few guest appearances, Candy, Thomas, and O'Hara. Not necessarily the funniest guest appearances, but they did. So that was kind of the history of it through to the end of it in '86. Cinemax, they only had about 2 million subscribers at the time, so not the biggest audience. But it's a shame about NBC, but they just weren't kind of getting the crowds.
Well, the big one was Saturday Night Live. It still is to this day, even though it's not near what it used to be.
They were winning awards.
And because of the success of that one, it spawned this one. It spawned Fridays, if you remember that one. ABC tried their hand at it. Yes. I think that was the first time I saw Kramer from Seinfeld. He was on that show, and you had Mad Television. There was a lot of great sketch shows, but it was all born out of this one and the Not Ready for Primetime Players.
They were trying to get that SNL thing going.
Yeah.
All of them. All of
them were. Yeah. I think this was probably the most successful bunch. The Second City. I'm talking about comparatively to the original Not Ready for Primetime Players. I think they were the most successful. Well, you remember 1 or 2 of the other shows, but this was a cast. It was a good cast.
Critically acclaimed SCTV for one thing. The critics loved it. Because of the late night slot in NBC, it didn't really get the traction, and it still wasn't getting syndicated everywhere. The earlier stuff, it's hard to find existing original shows from the first 2 or 3 seasons because they got chopped up a lot for syndication. So the running order was changed, which for a show which relied on running order to tell a story with a wraparound story with individual sketches in between, chopping it up was like,
you're killing it right there. Yeah.
But
plus, you got to remember, Friday Night Late is a dead spot, man. People are not watching television Friday night late. It's the end of the week. They're out partying or they're going to bed to catch up on their rest. I mean, it's one of the two.
And it didn't do them any good. Like they were on till like 2 a.m. at some points, or 2:30 a.m. On the East Coast. So another $2 from our great friend Christian, which says Andrea Martin was from Maine. Because she was from Maine. Joe Flaherty was from Pittsburgh, I think. So there was a couple of Americans in the cast. It wasn't all. Thank you for that, Christian. And another Christian's emptying the bank account today.
He is.
We Canucks always thought the Hansons were Canadian. They're from Minnesota. That's right. The Hanson brothers are from Minnesota. Hockey did feature in some SCTV, and we're going to talk.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Darius, $2 from Darius Munchausen, Edmonton Eulers, bad at hockey, good at math. That's right. It's an SCTV thing, the Edmonton Eulers. We've got some hockey related stuff that they did. And another one, so Christian, another $2 for Christian, referencing the dimwits, the half-wits, I think it might have been, with Alex Trebell. They didn't call him Trebek, it was Alex Trebell, played by Eugene Levy, who lost his head every time because the contestants were so useless.
Yep.
Which we're going to show again, and we've got a clip of that to show us. Thank you, everybody, for all those super chats. I appreciate it very much. Again, I don't have as many little tiny clips to show you of SCTV. I've got SCTV. I do have other comedy ones.
I'm telling you for the last time, I happen to have my young son in the car, and I don't want to hear that kind of
Indeed. So what made, why was the show so good? And well, the format, of course, which allowed them to do an awful lot of different stuff, but to tell story arcs about the station was good. And allowed them to then to do multi-layered parodies. So they could do a parody of a film starring people that were in the show playing real actors that were in the film, or indeed in other films. So they could combine and mash things together, and they'd have some of their own people like Bobby Bittman or somebody playing that was playing Charlton Heston playing something. So the multi-layered aspect was good. The creation of characters that weren't just one-offs, but you could really build on over a period of time was another great. And the fact
it didn't hurt that they were talented, every last one of them.
Yeah, great performance.
Good God, you get a chemistry like that together. It's just like the Not Ready for Primetime players. It's just like Monty Python. You get that many talented people in a room, they're going to come up with some funny stuff. They are.
And I think the thing for me is that it being Canadian and it being a Canadian show, it was right in the middle between those two styles. It had some of the broad humor of SNL, the American style humor, with the Monty Python almost
character driven,
quirky parody style that were melded together perfectly, so they could do both. What they didn't do, like SNL featured an awful lot of like drug related humor in those days.
Yeah, there wasn't much. No, there wasn't any of that.
SCTV didn't do a lot of that. They were a little bit more, they thought, highbrow in trying to parody certain movies and obscure stuff.
The only thing they got into that area was the beer, and that was it. You know, the beer.
Yeah, they had one or two tiny little drug sketches, but SNL was packed full of sex and drugs type sketches.
Yeah.
SCTV was a little bit more thoughtful in some respects, although it could do broad comedy, stupid comedy too, like blowing people up. You know. So it wasn't as juvenile, I think, as SNL in some ways, is maybe what I'm trying to say. Now, I didn't see either of those shows live at the time. I was still in the UK in the late 70s, early 80s. Hadn't even heard of SCTV until after the fact, when some of these guys became stars, like John Candy. And then you look into their background and you go, oh, he was in this Canadian show. You know.
Yeah.
Funnily enough, at the time, Candy, O'Hara, and others were in like 2 or 3 Canadian sitcoms at the same time as they were making SCTV. They were super busy, these guys, just about to break out, you know.
And that's not unheard of for actors at that time. They were trying to pay the bills, trying to get discovered. So they were doing everything that they threw their way. You know?
Exactly. They were hard. These were hard-working performers. John Candy, I think, was in 3 shows at once, 3 Canadian shows at one time in the early days of SCTV, like, and appearing on stage with Second City in Toronto. So these guys they worked at it. So I'd like to take, if you guys are okay with this, I'd like to take a look at. You know what? Let's play a video clip. It's probably out of sequence for my show, but screw it. I'm going to play a video clip.
Oh, man.
So let's have some fun. Let's play a little clip of John Candy, the taxidermist who takes his girlfriend home to meet the family. So let me call that particular one up. This is an early, I think, maybe season 1 sketch Things don't quite go the way his girlfriend imagines they're going to go. And it's not the whole sketch. I had to clip bits of it, but it's an example of what you were getting in those days.
This is my mom.
Look how great it is that they stay still for so long to do this. It's Ramis.
Mom, Dad, this is Eugene. Eugene?
He's a taxidermy. Now she's called the police.
Here we go.
The policeman stuffed as
I
well.
need my fiancée, Eugene. Eugene, this is Officer Flanagan. You know my parents already.
That was an example of what you could get in seasons 1 and 2. There's fantastic. It's smart, but it's also goofy.
Mm-hmm.
I love that whole one because he starts out as a nice guy, and then he gradually gets creepier and creepier until, and then when she calls the police, the policeman's stuffed.
It's too much, man.
The brilliance of those, and just to be able to sit still like that to do that.
Yeah,
And
these guys, yeah, they're all stiff. And
a great clip there. So yeah, I felt it was time we had a clip. Let me get some images up now. Let's talk about. I'd like to run through.
You got another super chat, by the way, buddy.
Oh, I did. Thanks for letting me know.
Yeah.
Our great friend WG, good to see you, buddy. SCTV was great. So $10 from WG. SCTV was great, but I also liked the new show. John Candy's Roy's Food Repair on it was pretty damn funny. Well, that's a great reference and one that I'm going to go look that Food Repair up. The new show. I'm assuming, yeah, that was one of those multiple shows that Candy was working on in the 70s at the same time. Yeah, I know there was. Oh God, I had a list here of some of the other ones, but I didn't recognize them because I wasn't living in Canada at the time. But there was a list, literally like 4 things at once. Yeah. So I'd like to start just briefly with Dave Thomas, who was a key player on
he was the cop you just saw.
Yeah, he was the cop. Thank you, WG, for that. I will. You know, I got a tiny little clip for you. British comedy at its finest. Echo clip, yeah. Oh, they're echoing. Sorry about that. I'll have to figure that out. Let me just. I'll change my. I'm going to just make a quick change to some audio settings. See if we can avoid the echoing going forward. Thanks for letting me know.
But yeah, man. While you're doing that, I just wanted to point out. You know, we're fixing to go through this cast. Can anybody name anybody that's on Saturday Night Live right now?
No,
I can't name a cast member. No. You know, that's how bad, how far that show has fallen. But boy, when these shows first started out, it was nothing but talented individuals. I can name every member of this show and Saturday Night Live.
Don't you think that would make a great SCTV sketch? Yeah. Now, if they made it, name, you know, I get a spoof game show. Name that SNL cast member,
right?
So Dave Thomas, Canadian guy, his brother Ian, who's a musician, was on the show a few times, and Ian actually got Dave into the showbiz because he was his older brother. Dave's a very, very great Canadian musician. Our good friend Granny from the Rock and Roll Rowdies tour managed Ian Thomas's band for a while in Canada, so he was quite familiar with the SCTV guys. But he played things like. He did the most wicked Bob Hope impression.
Bob Hope, yes, God, I've seen that. Yes,
absolutely wicked. Now there's a picture of the two of them together as well. He claims it was affectionate. I'm not so sure. I think Darius is going to join us in a minute, which is great. I don't think Dave Thomas's portrayal was all that flattering, and it was a recurring thing. It was great because he had Bob starring in movies. He had Bob Hope appearing on chat shows like Sammy Model, and he just brought him in a number of times. And this is the Bob Hope Desert Classic, where he's got a golf tournament on in the Middle East amongst the wars.
Well, Hope did a bunch of work with the USO, so that's not surprising.
Now, one of the things that he did with Bob Hope and Rick Moranis was in it too was all the movie parodies they did. They did a movie parody of Taxi Driver, starring Woody Allen and Bob Hope. And the whole thing was wrapped around this Woody Allen's Play It Again, Sam, where he fantasizes about being with Humphrey Bogart. Well, in this, he's fantasizing about being with Bob Hope. And so they do the Bob Hope version of Taxi Driver. And I'm going to talk about those movie parodies more later, but I'm going to play that video right now because it's just one of the funniest things you'll ever see in your life. This is Bob Hope starring in Taxi Driver. So let's show, and this is the genius of Dave Thomas. Here we go.
Coming soon to SCTV, Taxi Driver, starring Bob Hope.
You talking to me? I think you were, weren't you? Huh? Nobody talks to me that way. I didn't let Daryl Zanuck talk to me that way. I'm not going to let you talk to me that way. That was you talking to me, wasn't it? Oh, don't give me that. I've had that laid on me before. I know you were talking to me, weren't you? Well, I got one for you.
No,
you fixed your echo, by the way.
I fixed it. Oh, good. Yeah, he says that was affectionate. I'm not so sure. But Rick Moranis does a great Woody Allen in that as well. But
oh my god!
So that was the genius cross between Bob Hope and Bob Newhart.
Right, Bob Newhart.
Where's the beef? Thank you again, Christian Delorme, buddy. You're just so good to me. I appreciate it, brother. $5 from Christian. Don't forget to mention the album Bob and Doug McKenzie with the great Geddy Lee from Rush. A few songs are always played at Christmas time in Ottawa. Well, I have that album.
Yes.
And
they had an album.
In fact, if I change my audio back, I'll be able to play a little audio clip of that for you, sir. So just bear with me 1 second. Go back to the echoey audio. This is that very clip.
Did our lawyer call you?
Yeah. $10. $10.
That's right. $10 is $10.
$10 is $10. The classic Geddy Lee on Bob and Doug McKenzie. I got to change that audio back again just so we don't get problems with the next video.
WG hit you up too.
Okay. Oh geez.
They're throwing money at you like you're a stripper today, buddy.
Yeah, probably an SCTV sketch about that. I'll get to WG in just 1 second, my friend. But so Bob Hope was a big part of Dave Thomas's stuff. I mean, he had hundreds of characters.
Oh my god!
We're never going to get to everything today. This is a primer. Yeah. He did a great Bones McCoy, though. I have to say.
Yes, I've seen this. Oh my god!
Yeah, he did a brilliant Bones McCoy, and I think he did Chekhov at one point as well, but because he did Chekhov in a Chekhov play, which was the kind of parodies they would get. I can't remember what this. He put him in again. He put him in things he was completely not supposed to be in, and he couldn't get out of character as Bones. So he wouldn't be DeForest Kelly. He'd be Bones. And then he did things like Harvey Keitel, the hyper maniacal announcer on commercials and so on. Harvey Keitel. I mean Harvey Keitel and Harvey Keitel. Dave, God bless you, Dave Thomas. I mean, there's so many other
great, man.
Bill Needle,
highly underrated. Everybody remembers Rick Moranis, but this guy was just as funny as
Dave's
that. Dave's
writing was just incredible. So this is a taste of his material. Let me just go back to WG, our great friend. So Bob and Doug McKenzie started because SCTV producers were told by the CBC they didn't have enough Canadian content to meet Canadian broadcasting law. So they went full stereotype Canadian to comply. That's absolutely correct, sir. The first Bob and Doug McKenzie appearance on season 3 was it?
Yeah.
Is basically the two of them being as hoserish as possible while running up the screen is a stunning indictment written by Dave Thomas of this stupid law forcing them to put Canadian content in every show, and then going on about how we've got Americans in the cast, but don't worry, they've got visas and blah blah blah. And it was meant as a piss take, and it became their most famous creation. and they started to then take it seriously and maybe make the guys a bit more affectionate, because at first they were as stupid as they could be.
Yeah, oh my God.
So yeah, well played, WG. It was and they called it. It wasn't called Bob and Doug Mackenzie, of course. That show was called The Great White North.
The Great White North, yes.
And for a while, Canadian Corner with a K, Canadian Corner with a K. So and they used the Great White North thing in a couple of other sketches too. So thank you, WG, for that. Really appreciate that, mate. You're gonna get this one.
Infamy! Infamy! They've all got it in for me!
I didn't have time to clip too many SCTV clips. Well, I've got longer clips.
I was fixing to say, you got plenty of stuff to show.
Plenty of stuff. Thank you. It is the Cult Comedy Crew. We have recurring video clips. So thank you, WG. I don't have that one, WG. I'm sorry.
Kevin Kline is a genius.
Again, I've got a bunch of those. I don't have that one. My apologies. I do have some other ones you're going to like, though. So also, though, appearing on the show in the cast, let me just call this up again. Oops, sorry. I got so many images here. There we go. Right. So there's another great Canadian performer who's had a lot of success too over the years, Eugene Levy.
Eugene Levy, man.
Who's been in, well, he's been in great movies. He's in a lot of the like Waiting for Guffman, American Pie. Huge success with Schitt's Creek recently, with Kathleen O'Hara in it too. He's a great, funny performer. He did things like it was mentioned earlier, Halfwits, one of these great game show parodies. The game show parodies were fantastic. I've got a clip of High Q later, which is one of them.
Oh my God!
Yeah, like High Q, which was based on it was called University Challenge in Britain. I don't know what it's called over here, but Alex Trebell, he loses the rag. We've got a little clip of that. We might as well show that one now.
Yeah.
If you guys are okay with that, yeah.
Good with it.
Stop me if I'm going too fast.
No.
We got a lot of material to fit in. It's a primer, so let's show the High Q clip. So just give me 1 second while I dig that out. We're not doing 3D House of Stewardesses yet. I was just about clicked on
Make
the
sure you
wrong
set
one.
your sound up.
I have.
Okay.
Ooh, where is that clip? No, I'll come back to that. Sorry, I must have put it in the wrong folder.
Oh, well.
Sorry about that. But we have a clip of High Q, and we are going to play it later.
Okay.
He also did Bobby Bittman was one of his characters. Bittman does tell
Bittman does.
So Bittman was what you would call a loud, obnoxious hack comedian who became a loud, obnoxious hack actor in certain of the spoof parodies. And he was dumb and inept and a regular on the Sammy Maudlin show, which was a spoof. We'll talk about that and show clips from that. It was a spoof of these slimy kind of everyone patting each other in the back, Rat Pack type shows like Sammy Davis Jr.'s, a Sammy Maudlin show. And Bittman was a recurring character. And he just, this is Bobby Bittman and Joey Heatherton, which is Catherine O'Hara, doing On the Waterfront Again. They're a spoof of On the Waterfront. And Bittman's trying to play this Marlon Brando-esque role. An example of one of the parodies they did. I do wish I could find that High Q clip.
You will.
Talk amongst yourselves while I find it.
Well, dude, these guys... we've just scratched the surface on the talent in this cast, but man, Eugene Levy, I know everybody that's in their 30s or 40s probably remember this guy as the dad on American Pie series, but Godzilla in the chat mentioned a very funny movie with him and John Candy, Armed and Dangerous. I remember that.
He's a great performer, mainstay of the show. He was on every episode right from start to finish. Here is a bit of High Q. I don't know how long this is. I don't want to play all, but
hi, I'm Alex Trebell. Welcome to High Q, the game of academic achievement. Competing today are students from Parkdale
no echo,
High,
I hope.
Margaret Meehan, Peter Townsend, and James Bridgman, and students from St. Anthony's Collegiate, Leonard Mandel, Kathy Mifsud, and Bruce Moffat. Now, each school will have a chance to answer several skill testing questions, and at the end of the game, the school totaling the most points will win the game, and also a $250 scholarship to the university of their choice. Now, let's start the game. The first question worth 20 points, and the subject is authors. Margaret Meehan, Parkdale.
Henry Miller.
She doesn't even let him
Let
start.
me please finish the question first, all right? What famous... Margaret Meehan, Parkdale.
Victor Hugo.
Oh, I'm sorry, Margaret. If you just let me finish
throw
the question
darts.
first.
So I'm going to flip
And will the
forward.
audience please refrain from
And people
commenting
are shouting
during the program.
things
It's
and he's
very,
getting upset.
Very distracting. Please.
And they're just the
Not
stupidest
Truman
people.
Capote. The question. I want the name of the famous author and humorist who wrote The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn and went by the name of Mark Twain. Mark Twain, very, very famous.
the answer.
No one has an answer.
Yeah.
Kathy Mifsud, St. Anthony's.
Samuel L. Clark.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can you take it, Parkdale? James Bridgman.
No. Sorry.
Well, the answer was Samuel L. Clemens.
That's what I said.
No, Kathy, you said Samuel L. Clark. The answer, Clemens.
Well, that's what I meant.
Oh, you didn't say that! Yes!
It just disintegrates. Every quiz show spoof they did, the things started to disintegrate. Well, that was his Alex Trebell.
Yes.
Brilliant portrayal by the great Eugene Levy. So other cast members that we were going to work our way through. Sorry about that. Just give me a
Christian
second.
sent you another 5.
He did. I'll get that just a second, my
I know.
friends.
I'm just giving you a heads up.
No, I'm saying to Christian, we'll just grab that while we're here. Christian, my friend, thank you very much. My memory fails me. Who did the constant moving man on commercial? Oh, I can't remember. Yeah, I've watched so much of it in the last few days. Commercials were a big part of the thing. Like spray-on socks is one clip I've got. We're going to show. But thank you, Christian, for that. I don't know. Anybody in the chat may know who did that. Oh yeah, Streets of Fire. Good movie. Michael Parry. Thanks again, Christian, for that. It's very good. So let me share my screen again, and we'll look at another guy who was there from start to finish, Joe Flaherty, who didn't necessarily have the career the others did after. I mean, I know he's got bits in, I think it's Happy Gilmore and Caddyshack and stuff like that.
I just watched a movie with him in it the other day. That's one of the funniest movies I've ever seen, and he plays a lawyer in it for the bad guy, and it's called Used Cars with Kurt Russell. It's hilarious, and he plays the lawyer for the bad guy. But the thing you can laugh at me. The thing I always remember him as is that he's the guy that works for the post office that shows up and gives Marty McFly the letter from Doc Brown at the end of Back to the Future 2.
I'd forgotten about that. Yeah, I'd forgotten about that. But so this is him with John Candy in Farm Film Report, where they liked to blow people up real good. And he plays the Big Jim McBob part, whereas John Candy's playing Billy Salt Hurock. And they basically Farm Film Report, they interviewed celebrities and ultimately encouraged them to blow up. And they blowed up real good. And that was pretty much the point of the sketch. There was nothing else, really. It was Dustin Hoffman, Meryl Streep, people like that, even Neil Sedaka.
Very Monty Python-esque type of sketch.
Very Python-esque. It's like hitting people with fish.
Yep.
He also played Count Floyd, of course, who introduced the Monster Chiller horror theater. As I say, a vampire who howled like a werewolf. Not quite sure about that, why that was. And the films were never horrible, but sometimes they were funny. As you can see, Monster Chiller even had a spoof magazine, which I've never seen before, but it looks good. He also played SCTV television network president Guy Caballero.
Yes, I remember that dude.
Guy Caballero would go around in a wheelchair, not because he was disabled, but he wanted respect. So he's a little bit ahead of his time with that portrayal. And
I'm having to cover my mouth a lot in this
in
show.
the Godfather spoof, he gets out of the chair and runs away when they're shooting at him for about 5 minutes, and he doesn't die. He's like a bullet sponge. But he was started out quite vicious with the other people in the channel. He's like, and he's always begging for money, of course. So, yeah, here he's in the chair. Demands respect. And of course, he was Sammy Maudlin in the Sammy Maudlin show. Just such a great portrayal with the hair as well, the afro. And sidekick was John Candy, William B. Williams. So spoofing those late night Rat Pack style chat shows, everyone was so sycophantic on it. Sycophantic. Yeah. But I think he got his hair from Soul Glow, whatever that was, and Coming to America. Yeah. Yeah, drugs in Hollywood. We're going to show some Sammy Maudlin later, but so he had a bunch of great characters throughout the years. That's just a small selection of them. Now we get to his counterpart in Farm Film Report, John Candy. I mean, he played dozens of characters in these, just so many. It's hard to even list them all. But a big one, of course, that everyone remembers is Dr. Tongue, who was the guy that made a lot of these horror movies like The House of Cats or 3D House of Stewardesses, which we're going to play a clip of later. The 3D effect, of course, was them going up to the camera with things like this. And and Count Floyd trying to flog these glasses, 3D glasses, that he made the price up for on the spot. The House of Cats, there he is, pushing the cat up to the screen.
Yes, pushing the cat at the 3D screen. Yes.
Now, they did do some hockey stuff, and as part of this is John Candy playing, and I'll never get this name right, he's playing a hockey player called Billy Stemhovilichiski, who plays for the Toronto Bay Leafs, in an obscure spoof of a Canadian hockey movie called Face Off. They called it Parody. But Billy Stemhovilichiski. Yeah. Still don't get that one. But probably another one that everyone remembers for is Johnny LaRue, the big shot actor, star of SCTV, and productions like Polynesian Town, the spoof of Chinatown, where he bankrupted the station and was reduced to begging Guy Caballero for any parts he would get after in the show, because he bankrupted them with the long tracking shot with the big crane. And then the next show he went out on, which was meant to be just him sitting in a room with a microphone because he had no money left, he actually did it again by getting a crane to come in and pick stuff up. He appeared in a whole bunch of their stuff.
I don't think there's a more famous funny man from Canada than that guy right there.
There's a Street Beef with Johnny LaRue. It's one of the spoofs they did. And then he played in Melonville. It's set in this fake town of Melonville. He played the mayor, Tommy Shanks. He looks like he's like made out of Barbie plastic there. So Tommy Shanks would have these fireside chats where he'd basically sit and insult people and drink. He's the mayor of the town. So Candy had so many great roles. It's just he even did a Dirty Harry. It was Filthy Harry or something. It's Dirty Harry spoof. Great. Sadly missed. Great star. Been very loyal, as I say, to the show over the years. Also in the show, Andrea Martin, who was also there for the whole thing. She did stuff like the singer Connie Franklin. Connie Franklin's 20 Depressing Hits was the album.
As opposed to Connie Francis.
Yes, as opposed to Connie Francis. 20 Depressing Hits. I have a list of them here, and I'm trying to find it.
Oh, good, no.
Because it was one of my funniest. What did I do with that list of 20 depressing hits? But really, some of them were just awful. It's a wonder she survived because they were so bad.
Right.
I'll come back to those. I had those written down. 20 depressing hits. Lord Thoth is unable to join us. No worries, mate. Don't worry about it. Hope you're all having a good time in the chat. We're just trying to prompt a few memories of these characters in SCTV. Also, one of our great ones, and I've got a clip I'm going to play of this right now, is Dr. Cheryl Kinsey, sexologist.
Oh, no.
But she got really embarrassed talking about sex. which is a bit of a drawback. And there's a famous sketch that I want to play for you now that she did, where she's talking about women's ability to fake it, shall we say, and how important that is. So let's share that little clip of video of the great Andrea Martin. Just give me 1 second while I go to the correct folder. Oh yeah, here it is. Dr. Cheryl Kinsey faking it.
I'm getting a very church lady vibe from her.
Recent studies show that nearly 60% of all women are capable of at least one fake orgasm.
She starts
Nearly
twitching.
20% of these women report multiple fake orgasms. Why don't you repeat after me these helpful, passionate phrases? Don't stop, lover. Please don't stop. Don't stop, lover. Please don't stop. Oh, you're good. You're so good. Oh, you're good. You're so good. Make me a woman, big boy. Make me a woman, big boy. Now, fortunately, it was shown that in recent studies, 9 out of 10 males will believe anything, especially if it confirms their virility. So don't be afraid to pretend that you're aroused by your partner. Tomorrow we'll be talking about the increasing popularity of post-marital sex.
Post-marital sex.
Post-marital sex.
That's a killer line that's just thrown away at the end there.
When she was doing that, all I could hear was Ted. Have you ever seen the movie Ted? Talking about Boston, goes, oh, harder.
Yeah, she gets the twitch when she starts talking about this. She's so deadpan.
That is too good, man.
One of the best creations ever on the show, in my opinion, and very underrated creation. But yeah, post-marital sex, that just slips that joke in at the end. So yeah, Cheryl Kinsey, she did have some other memorable characters though. Cheryl again. Edith Prickley, who became the station manager after Harold Ramis's Mo Green mysteriously was kidnapped by Lutonian rebels, which I think Lutonia was a fake country they always referred to. So she appeared on an awful lot of sketches over the years, basically managing the station, and the only person that could stand up to Guy Caballero, the president. There was also her sister, Edna Boyle, who was married to Rex. Rex and Edna Boyle's Prairie Warehouse and Curio Emporium. Now, actually, she was married to Tex. The joke was that this is the Organ Emporium. The joke was that she got rid of Tex and replaced him with her dog called Rex. So, and there she is as Edith Prickley at the staff Christmas party with Lola Heatherton, who was one of Catherine O'Hara's, the actress, one of her portrayals. So Andrea Martin, great performer through the years. I do love that 60% of women.
Yeah, the twitch. That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm hoping everyone's getting a laugh out of these in the in the chat. I do appreciate everyone being here today to talk. I'm just prompting some memories of this great show and some of the great things these wonderful performers did. The other one, another key performer that was in many of the seasons was Catherine O'Hara, of course, who went on to be in some great movies.
Oh my God, she's one of the best ever, man.
Yeah,
to this day, huh?
Yeah, fantastic career after.
I completely forgot she's the mom in Home Alone. I forgot about that. Yeah.
Of course, John Candy makes a great appearance in the polka band later on.
Yep.
I think it's in Home Alone, not Home Alone 2, that one. But, she did some great impressions like Brooke Shields, who got blowed up real good, of course. She also wasn't afraid of divesting her apparel at times in the show. 3D House of Stewardesses being a great example. But here she's quite the pins on her, I would say.
She's a cute lady, no doubt, man.
Yeah. Lola Heatherton, of course, she's an actress and appeared in many of the fake movie parodies they did.
The Diva.
Yes, the Diva. And she'd actually played Linda Carter at one point.
Oh my God.
I can't find the clip
wonderful.
anywhere, but she played Linda Carter. As you see, she looks quite good as Wonder Woman. It makes you think what would have happened if she'd actually got the real role. But, so another mainstay of the cast, of course, Harold Ramis. We talked about, he was in season 1 and wrote a lot of season 2. He did make the occasional guest appearance later, or Harold Ramis, however you want to call it. Here he is, obviously, in Ghostbusters. He left pretty early because he had so much offers to write stuff and appear and stuff. Sadly departed, of course, as well.
He wrote half of the stuff that cracked you up in the 80s. I mean, he did. The guy was a genius.
Yeah, and cut his teeth doing a lot of this stuff. Here he is as Mo Green. They captured because he disappeared after season 1, but they kept referring to him as, he's been held ransom by the Lutonian Liberation Army, and things. So Dildo's got a bounce. Sorry, Dildo. Good to see you, mate. Thanks for being here.
Take care, brother.
The running joke here was that the Guy Caballero refused to pay the ransom, so eventually they resorted to phoning up saying, "Okay, just send a cab and pick him up," because they weren't getting any money for him. And he did host a number of shows in season 1.
Oh, great.
Particularly this one. Now, this is one of the funniest things. And one of the Canadian references they made, he was in a show called Plainclothes Mountie. The problem was he was still on his horse.
Oh my God.
So he tries to arrest Dave Thomas and Catherine O'Hara for smoking drugs, and they go, well, he's trying to talk to them as if he's on the street, and they go, the horse is a bit of a giveaway. Plainclothes Mountie. One of the few major Canadian references.
That's great.
Yeah, but he hosted things like the Solid Gold Telethon, because they had fundraisers on the channel. Now, the Solid Gold Telethon, they actually asked people to bring gold to the station, not money. Like gold teeth, gold whatever.
Right. Anything to get your hands on.
Yeah. And then he did create clips like this, the stethoscopiological research. So for fake PSA for a fake organization about stethoscopes. You can't make this shit up, or you can't.
No, you can't, man. And a funnier dude, I don't think's walked the planet.
Yeah, I mean, his acting wasn't the point. It was his writing.
His writing was fantastic, but he could pull it off. He could do the acting.
So
I mean, I don't know if I love him more in Ghostbusters or Stripes as Bill Murray's buddy that he joins the army with, but my God, he's hilarious.
But as Lord Falth is a real life Mountie, he approves of that sketch.
Yeah, but is he a plainclothes Mountie?
Right? Are you a plainclothes?
Did he? Yeah, always. So D-Bed Martin has asked him, yes, is that how you do it? And his answer is always. Yeah, plainclothes. I'd never seen that sketch until I started rehearsing.
That picture is just funny because you can tell it's two hippies, and if he's supposed to be a Mountie in plainclothes, the horse is the whole joke. It's hilarious.
And it's so funny because it is one of the major Canadian references. They don't make many, but that's one of them.
Right.
So in later seasons, they were joined, like season 4 and 5. Let me show this. Joined by Martin Short, who we all know and love from many, many great things like the Three Amigos.
Well, he did time on this. He did time on Saturday Night Live, Three Amigos. One of the lost gems that he's done is the one he did with Dennis Quaid, Inner Space. I love that movie. It's fantastic.
So he went on to have a stellar career, but he joined in season 4 and 5. Great performance.
He's had a resurgent last couple of years with his buddy Steve Martin, though, too. Right?
Only Murders in the
Building, right?
Yeah.
We've got another super chat.
Oh, I'll just grab that in a second. He did parody in the show a Canadian host called, I think it's called Dave Linehan, or he called it Brock Linehan. So it was one of
he's like the Boris Karloff of comedy, man. He's the man of 1,000 faces.
But his most famous character would be Ed Grimley, who he did on SNL.
I must say.
Pat Sajak. He's obsessed with Pat Sajak. Ed Grimley, we have a clip of Ed Grimley we're going to show in just a second, after we've done the super chat. And he also then played Jackie Rogers Jr., who was a bit of a weird performer. He had a number of recurring, but Ed Grimley. So let me look at that. So we'll just play a clip of Ed Grimley just after we do Christian's. Christian, thank you, buddy. I really, from the bottom of my heart, I really appreciate it. $5 Canadian from Christian Delorme. Johnny LaRue would drink his weight in booze for the solid. Yeah, that's right. So he promised to drink his weight in booze if they raised the correct amount of gold. And I think they did in the end. See, their telethons always worked until the very last one in the last season, and it didn't, and then they got cancelled, which was a joke in itself. But they were usually begging for money from wealthy Arabs was their shtick.
Yeah.
And then when they actually asked the public for money, it failed miserably. So for you, Christian, we are going to play a little bit of Ed Grimley in Whatever Happened to Baby Ed.
Yes.
Which was the spoof of obviously the old Whatever Happened to Baby Jane. So let's play that, and you get a little taste of Ed Grimley and how good he was as a character. Let me take the super chat off.
Whatever happened to Baby Ed? Reuniting two of America's finest actors.
Oh, I told Mr. DeMille to hold that shot longer, you know.
Ed Grimley is riveting. Jerry Gladman, Melonville Free Press.
Still a pretty good picture, I must say.
Still watching that garbage?
Boris Burge's performance in Baby Ed is Oscar bait.
Oscar bait.
Melonville Sun.
Like, I suppose you think it's a good movie, don't you?
He looks just like him over here.
Oh, man. Oh, no!
Classic. Another one of these great movie parodies, Whatever Happened to Baby Ed. And it shows you the versatility of these guys, and they could take characters and put them in a fake movie parodying something else. I just love the fact that John Candy's dressed the same when he's got the hair. It's his brother.
Yeah, it's hilarious.
Yeah, it's these movie parodies were and TV parodies were one of their specialties, and we've got a few more of those to talk about.
Well, I love it when they do that. It's like, I don't know if you guys did it, but I collected Mad Magazine and Cracked, and one of the reasons why I collected those magazines were the movie spoofs that they put in them, and this was live stuff with really talented guys doing it. It was hilarious, man.
Just incredible. They put a lot of thought and effort into them. Budgets, especially when the show budget went up in season 3, 4, and 5, they were able to do a little bit more and make them more elaborate. And they did the wraparound thing so that they would promo it with a clip promo, maybe even the show before. The next show, they'd have clips split up of the parody amongst ordinary sketches, but they'd also have the characters going on like Sammy Maudlin or other chat shows to talk about the movie. So they had multiple ways of using those bits, and that was very, very clever and really well laid out.
It all got its bases on the stage when they started here, though. You could tell that they were really good at doing characters and pulling off the timing, and just it's comedic gold watching this stuff.
Yeah, and some of the characters did grow out of the stage performances. So Rick Moranis, who joined in season 3, I think, or was it 2? Forgive me if I get that wrong.
I get his motivations for not acting anymore, but man, I miss him.
Yeah, I think he is going to come back soon. But yeah, I have absolute total respect for him as a human being for what he did.
He raised his kids.
He basically, because his wife was ill, looked after his wife and raised his kids, gave up his career. Nothing but respect for this gentleman. Originally a DJ in Toronto, got the gig with SCTV and just flowered as a comedic writer and performer. Massive
He's got a face for radio, that's for sure.
Obviously, he played the smarter, which is hard to tell, of course, but the smarter of the two brothers, Bob and Doug McKenzie. I mean, they would never have had this if he'd never joined the show, because it allowed him and Dave Thomas to do this. So I'm so grateful he joined this show.
This is the Jim Belushi and John Belushi and Dan Aykroyd of this show. Those are the two guys right here.
But here he is playing. He had so many characters and impressions. Elton John. He even looks the part, though.
Yeah, he does.
He also introduced the ambiguous, well, not so ambiguously leaning Guy Friday. as opposed to Girl Friday, who added a bit of diversity to the show cast. There's one great scene where there's a show on SCTV. They show a shot of the audience. It's all women except for Guy Friday, which was a subtle. They did those subtle throwaway visual jokes so easily, you know. This is a great. I love this. This is him playing Merv Griffin. Merv Griffin impression. They did all the hosts of the time. Merv Griffin.
Oh man.
They just all those great hosts of that era. They did.
Was he Johnny Carson too?
Yeah, they did. They did. I don't know if they ever did Carson. They did like a Carson-esque thing. Brock Lenihan, obviously. God, what was the impressions? I didn't know Walter Cronkite. They did guys like the newscasters.
There you go.
And we haven't even talked about SCTV news yet, but we're going to.
No, man, you got to talk. If you're going to talk sketch comedy, you got to cover the news show.
He did the best Woody Allen ever. Taxi Driver.
He looks like him.
That's what he even looks like him. Yeah. So Rick Moranis, salute to you, sir. You're a gentleman and a giant in. And went on to obviously do some great stuff after, but then
Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, I think, is one of the last movies he did.
Sacrificed
a couple of them, right? Did a couple of those.
Sacrifice his career for his family, and no one can praise that.
Can't get mad at him about that at all.
Can't
but
praise
boy,
him.
miss him being around. We were having a discussion earlier in the chat. He was in a movie that I know Brian digs because the blasters are in it. Streets of Fire, and you want to talk about going outside your comfort zone. He's Mr. Nice Guy in almost every movie you've seen him in, but if you see him in Streets of Fire, he is the typical asshole manager, and he's freaking great at it, man.
It's a good movie, though. I love that movie. And of course, RJ, if you look back on the channel, we did an entire live stream on Strange Brew. Which we had a lot of fun on, and we delved deeper into Bob and Doug and Mackenzie on that. But yeah, the main. I'd like to talk a little bit about some of the recurring. Oh, there's another character I forgot that, which was Bill. Hang on, let me show in the stream. So Bill Needle was another one of Dave Thomas's. He was the critic at large who basically would viciously rip the crap out of everything that all these fake movies they did. He would rip the hell out of them. I'm just trying to remember a few of the other famous, because I wasn't watching American or Canadian television in those eras. So a lot of the people like Cronkite and others I only know. Later from learning about them later, but there was an awful lot of those chat show hosts and what would you call them? Just guys like
daytime talk shows.
Alistair, was it? What was his name? Alistair Cook. Guys like that. They would spoof those guys and so recurring stuff. Obviously, Bob and Doug Mackenzie. Became a huge hit from season 3 onwards when it was in it, and then he used that quite extensively. We have a clip.
Oh, got to
that we're going to share. We have to talk about Bob and Doug. Became obviously the most famous thing probably from the show, but not to overshadow all the stuff. But here, there's one of my favorite clips of them talking about the lack of donut shop parking. And they even get a ticket because they have to park in the street.
That's a typical subject right there.
Good day, welcome to Canadian Corner, the Great White North, and look at this. I'm Bob Mackenzie, and this is my brother Doug, and this is Doug's new beer bottle.
Take off, eh? It's got baby bottle. Although it's not bad, eh? It's like a condensed version of a Saturday night. You have a little beer.
Subtle joke there.
Okay, today we're going to talk about our topic, and the topic is why the parking lots are so small.
I'm having a beer shower here, eh?
Oh, that won't be the first time.
Okay, what's the topic?
The topic is why are parking lots so small at donut places, okay?
Yeah.
Like,
and they're talking Tim Hortons.
Anyway, so like the last night we were at Donut World, and like it's got like 20 tables, eh? But it only has like 8 spots in front, right? So like we got there and there was no place to put the van, right? So you know what he did, eh? He just left it on the street, right? So we got a ticket.
Yeah.
And it was like $20, right? But well, you left the flashers going.
Okay, the worst part of these places though is like one night, I went out there. They got the worst service in the world, and I sat in that place for like 2.5 hours,
Sat in it for
and
two-
no one waited on me.
There's no way.
And I
You're
thought,
supposed to. You get your own donuts. You go up to the counter.
oh,
He's
get
so
out,
dumb. 2.5 hours he waits.
Jeez.
I
I
don't
was
believe
there
it.
like I thought. Oh, she's a mean one, eh?
Where
so I'll
was
stare
I?
her down. I was there for like from 3 a.m. till 9 a.m. Eh? I was there. You were asleep that night. I was by myself.
Why didn't you tell me you were going to donut?
Here, have some of this.
Hey, don't, eh? Anyway, that's our show. Good day. I asked you to tell me whenever you went.
They always had really short skits, man, but they're hilarious.
You see there that they're both pretty slow, but Doug is the slowest.
Yeah.
Bob is the smart one.
Bob's the smart one, no doubt.
I think that's my favorite of all the sketches on the show, that one, because it's got so many, like the joke about the condensed Saturday night.
Condensed Saturday
the
night.
beer and the baby bottle.
Right.
The fact that he sits in the it's a donut store and he sits waiting for a waitress. There's no waitresses in donuts.
You go get your own damn donuts. Oh man, that's too good.
But
Those guys are priceless. They are.
And they did. I think Larry's right. They did improvise an awful lot of this. I mean, they made.
You
It
know
was
they
only
did.
2 minutes, and these guys were class because of the stage work. They could improvise.
Yeah, that's something a lot of them worked on. A lot of these guys
Mm-hmm.
started in improvisation theater type situations.
Yeah.
So, yeah. You're not going to ruffle these guys' feathers. You're not going to do it. They're too
One
good.
of the interesting things that they did in SCTV as a development for those guys was that they had them outside of the show, like things like the Christmas party, and the other characters like Bittman and Caballero or whatever, they looked down on them, like, oh well, we have real shows.
Yeah,
You've
right.
got this stupid. You guys are stupid. And it really hurt them as characters. They portrayed them being really hurt by that because they as characters put a lot of effort into their show, they thought.
Yeah.
But their response to that is, well, we've got to think of better topics.
Right.
It was all about the topic for them, you know.
Mhm.
So that was an interesting little development, you know, to make those characters outside of the Great White North do something, you know. The film was Strange Brew is a classic, you know. It's
It is hilarious. The hockey
So-
scene is the best, man. That is so
Yeah,
good. So great.
SCTV was meta before meta became a thing.
Yeah, it was.
That's the word, John. Yeah, meta. They were meta. They had so many layers in their stuff, like parodies and layers within. This is just a primer. There's so much we're never going to cover.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But SCTV News was on virtually the whole run, maybe up to season 6. Joe Flaherty and Eugene Levy. Now, Floyd Robertson was Joe Flaherty, and he's the professional guy. He's a professional newscaster. He gets all the big stories, the wars and the strikes and the blah, blah, blah. He did like the bottle, though, as they reveal later. He liked the bottle. Now, and he totally cannot stand Levy's Earl Camembert. Now, it's spelt, this is a joke, it's spelt Camembert, but he pronounces it Cannonbear. That's nobody could understand why, but you know. So, but Levy Camembert he gets all the fluff pieces, like a fire in a factory that never goes anywhere and nobody gets hurt and there's nothing.
Yeah.
And he makes stuff up and he's looking and he makes up like sex stuff that isn't real and just to get clicks, in a sense, clickbait. And Robertson can't stand him, as is made abundantly clear, and neither can the crew stand him because he's always insulting them. Like, where's my pencil? And, you know, this chair isn't right and whatever. And he's always insulting them. It's just so good the way they develop. And they take them outside of it and do stuff too. But the news broadcasts are brilliant. And they're always, and tensions really rose, though, when Earl finds out that Floyd gets $7,000 a week and he only gets $200. And there's so many classic episodes of this that we could show. I didn't know what to do or not do. You know, and there's so much we could. Oh, he wears the white suit in this one, and of course the camera, the glare. So the whole newscast is Floyd saying, "Why are you wearing that? You're killing the camera." You know. Well, I happen to like it, and they do the elections. So we're going to play a clip of SCTV News. As I say, there's so many great episodes. Figuring out where to leave out was the problem. But let's show a little. These two genius actors. And this is one where Earl just starts to lose the plot with the crew, and then they retaliate.
Earl, we're in the middle of a newscast. Now, what's the matter with you?
Floyd, I'm just trying to do an efficient job,
They
but
won't
it's
show the
terribly
video
hard
behind
when I'm surrounded
screen.
by inefficiency. A 5-alarm blaze broke out in a doily factory early this morning on...
They won't show the video behind them.
Where's the chroma key picture of that fire? Is there, there's supposed to be a picture of that fire behind me as I read the item. I don't see it. I don't seem to see it anywhere. No, it's not. And why? Because the crew on this show has made another mistake. They forgot my marking pencil.
Earl, will you please knock it off?
Ladies and gentlemen, I apologize for what some might consider to be an unprofessional outburst. But when someone as proficient in their job as I am finds himself working with a crew that is, for lack of a better word, unproficient, it really ticks me off. What the hell's going on here?
Yeah, as I say, there's so many classic SCTV news pieces, and these two guys, everyone always likes John Candy or Bob and Doug McKenzie. These two guys, Flaherty and Levy, were the heart and soul of a lot of the show.
Yeah.
And those two characters were so great. I mean, again, eventually gets revealed that Floyd's a bit of an alcoholic, and that's the one time Earl gets one up on him. You know, it's just
Right.
stuff like that. This I want to shout out FKHC 2005. He mentions the commercials. We've got a little bit of that to talk about, but the Gordon Lightfoot one, again, they did such great parodies or spoofs of musicians. Basically, the Gordon Lightfoot one he's talking about is where he sings it's a not 500 album set.
Right.
where he
I'm
sings
sure they scrolled it up, the
and
songs,
he
right?
sings every song ever made. And he's singing Christmas songs and nursery rhymes. And it's a very funny piece.
Yeah, some of these commercials on these sketch shows are just a riot, man.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, Eugene Levy played a good bozo, he did. So we've got another $2 super chat from our wonderful friend Christian. Wasn't Harold the owner's son? Yes. I think there was Guy Caballero was a nepotist, and I think he had his family working in various things and protecting them as well. He was protecting some of the characters that weren't very good. Equally, one of my favorite bits is when Rick Moranis plays Mike. Oh yeah, he did a Michael McDonald. I wish I had a clip of it. I don't.
Dude, I saw. You know what's funny? I saw that same thing done on. It might have been SCTV. I might have it confused. They did it on Saturday Night Live, though. I think they had somebody do Michael McDonald, and the name of the album was it was a greatest hits album. What the hell is he saying? Was the name of the album, right?
That's right. Yeah.
And they said if you order it now, you get this bonus album. Stevie Nicks. What the hell is she saying?
That's right. Yeah. But this particular, when he comes in, he's struggling to get to the studio in time, and he arrives to sing backup vocals, and all he gets to do is one line at the end. If I remember correctly, that's the sketch he's talking about. Yeah, he does the musical stuff. We'll talk a little bit more about the music later, because I want to just another of the key. Sorry, I got to get rid of the video and share my images again. There's many recurring shows. We would never have time to call it. But the other one of the key ones that was repeated again and again was the Sammy Maudlin show, where it was just a hotbed of sycophancy and backstabbing.
He's a comedian that looks like a lounge singer. It's ridiculous.
So it's the stick was that he was like Sammy Davis Jr. show where they all come in and go, "Oh, you're wonderful, you're marvelous, you're so wonderful," and of course John Candy played his sidekick William B. Williams, and it was just a sort of dripping mass of sycophancy and but talentless.
Mm-hmm.
So they used that a lot. So they could bring on these various actors and actresses that were in the promos and the movies they're making, and get another chance for them to be in the show. So the one I wanted to play a little clip of Sammy Maudlin, and it's one of the most, again, meta, shining example of how SCTV could be so meta. It was Sammy Maudlin show, and Bobby Bittman is appearing and doing comedy on it, but then Dave Thomas turns up as Bob Hope, and not only does he disrupt Bobby Bittman, they use this as an excuse to show backstage scenes from a 5-night special he's making in China. So they use it to promote something else that's going on they want to laugh at. So let's show that video. It's just pure gold. Bittman's reaction to getting upstaged by Bob Hope is pure snarky gold. So
this is all great stuff, man. You can play clips all day.
It's incredible. So this is I've got 3 bits of this. So let's start. It's in 3 pieces. I had to cut it up. It's so much. So let's start with the intro piece with Bobby Bittman.
Ladies and gentlemen, I want to introduce my next guest. Believe me, he's back from a smash engagement at the Flamingo Club up in Hamilton, Canada. He's one of the funniest guys I know, and I want you to give a big warm welcome to funny man Bobby Bittman.
Hamilton's a pretty downbeat city.
Sammy Maudlin. He's a crazy person over here.
70s.
How are ya?
50s performers in the 70s.
Yeah, I just got back from New York City. I was there for a very special reason, a very important reason. They named a sandwich after me. Very true. At the Star Deli down on Broadway, you can now buy the Bobby Bittman special. You get plenty of ham and Vaseline on the side.
It's just a bling.
And so the joke is, of course, with Bittman, he's just absolutely not funny in the slightest.
Yeah, he's not funny at all. Yeah.
So, and then he's getting on with his act, and it's terrible. But of course, Bob Hope turns up unexpectedly. He just a drive-by, in a sense, and things go in a different direction.
Is that a phone ringing, Sammy? Am I hearing things? Is that a phone? I think it's a phone. It could be for me. I don't know. Maybe I should answer it. I don't know. Wait a second. Hello? Hello? What? Who's this? Napoleon? What is this? Sammy, what kind of hookup you got here? Nappy?
Oh, man. I'm in trouble now.
I don't believe this.
Hi, Sammy. How you doing?
Ladies and gentlemen, in case you don't know who this is, Mr. Bob Hope.
So that's Bittman's act blown apart.
Yep. No, I tell you, I was just walking down the hall and I saw the studio light on. What a surprise. I thought this show had been canceled. Well, that's some phone you got there, Bobby.
Isn't that something?
That's sensational.
Yeah.
I'd hate to get the phone bills on that, baby.
Yeah. So then, I mean, there's a lot of interplay where Bittman he's being sycophantic, but he's digging at him for interrupting his show. But then later in the sketch, so he turns Bob Hope's reason for being there. He wants to plug this China special, and of course, he can't do jokes in Chinese. I mean, he doesn't even know what's funny to them, and that's. So I'll show the third bit. Unfortunately, I couldn't show the whole thing. Is just too long. So part 3 is so here's Bob Hope trying to prepare for his Chinese show. This is the backstage footage he wants everyone to see. 5 nights in communist China.
No, I'll tell you, we're all very excited about it. Very excited. And the Chinese were sensational to us. They were just marvelous.
How did you find the Chinese?
Find them, are you kidding? There's 800 million of those cats. They're everywhere. They're hard to miss, you know.
How do you find them?
Duck. Oh, yeah, Peking duck is hot. Now, that is really something.
Bobby, tell him that the best way to catch a Peking duck is to give the decoy 24 hours.
Yeah, how about this? The best way to catch Peking duck is to give the decoy 24 hours notice.
佢話想食好北京鴨要24小時之前預訂，你哋覺得好唔好笑啊？
You've cut the Mao outfits on it.
No way.
It's just that, and all the rest of the sketch is just him. Every joke falls flat on the Chinese. He's can we make jokes about panda bears? And they all like,
no, can't do that. Can't do that.
So that's the Sammy. Yeah, they're probably actual Bob Hope jokes. They probably are.
Oh yeah.
Probably.
Oh.
So Sammy Maudlin show, just sketch after sketch of just pure hilarity. But there was also the actor speaking Cantonese. Yeah, good. See, Davina knows everything.
She knows everything.
She should be on these shows.
She is a human encyclopedia.
Who knows? The game shows we mentioned briefly earlier. There was another big factor. There was always a spoof game show. So there were stuff like Dialing for Dollars, which was where he'd go to the so the whole point in this was Mo Green didn't want to hand the money out though. So you'd always find an excuse to, oh, the phone's not working, or no, they wouldn't answer, or because he wanted to keep the money, you know, he didn't want it.
Right.
So there was that. Oh yeah, so that was the aim of that one. Then we mentioned Haiku, and they did a later one, Night Haiku, Night School Haiku.
Night School Haiku,
yeah, which had similar. Had Margaret in it as well. She buzzes in all the time without even listening. The others fill in the sentence instead of answering the question. It's just this, and Trebek or Trebel gets so upset. This was Halfwits.
Oh, good Lord.
Halfwits, hosted by Alex Trebel.
Oh, man.
There was another one. There was another one, Shoot at the Stars.
Shoot at the Stars.
So the point of this was to shoot the celebrity. They get the chance to shoot and kill celebrities. And there was people like John Ritter and Robert Goulet and whoever. You know,
Robert Goulet.
Not shoot for the stars, shoot at the stars.
Oh,
there was another one called Dante's Inferno. I don't have a picture of it, but that was the losing contestant would be thrown into a large flaming pit.
Oh my God, that's too good. That's too good.
The game shows
guys
were
are crazy. They're crazy. These guys that do the sketch comedy, they come up with the most amazing stuff. It is so funny.
But another huge component of the show, as we've talked about a few, was the movie parodies and TV parodies. So Ben-Hur,
yes,
was one, and we've got a clip of that to show. So, and basically, John Candy played Ben-Hur, but he was playing him as Curly from the Three Stooges. Was the joke. And the guy, because in the real Ben-Hur, there's a guy comes and gives Ben-Hur something to drink. It's meant to be a famous religious figure. We don't want to get too in. And then, of course, this guy comes up with plaid trousers on and gives him a martini, which is probably Bob Hope, you know. So that was one of the, and it was a wraparound. So they had like a clip about Ben-Hur and then a sketch, and then they'd go back and have another bit.
Back to Ben-Hur, yeah.
They split it up. So let's show another bit though. The two Roman guards playing. They're doing Abbott and Costello doing Roman guards in Ben-Hur. So again, the multi-layered thing is just incredible. So let's have a little clip of Abbott and Costello in Ben-Hur. Here we go.
Yes. Part 2.
Very Monty Python.
Judea.
Hey, Gluteus. Hey, man.
Gluteus Maximus.
Quite a roll you got there. Yeah. Who are you wagering on in the big chariot race? Oh, I'm wagering on everyone's favorite, your Master Mazzola. Here, give me that money. Hey, I'm gonna do you a favor. I'm gonna put your money on a winner. What? The Judean, her. Her? Yeah. You mean the blonde over there with the big, No, not her. Yeah.
Not her.
Yeah, he's a good driver. I thought you said you were wagering on her. That's exactly what I said. Gonna make us both rich. Yeah. You're wagering on a woman in the chariot race? Are you listening to me? I didn't say I'm wagering on a woman. I'm wagering on her. That's him right over there. What's the matter with you? If that's a woman, I'll eat my toga. That's not a woman. Did I say I'm wagering on a woman? You're not
Who's on first?
You see my hand? Yeah. Watch my
That's
finger.
it.
Watch, I'm gonna point. You see that guy standing over there? Yeah. See the guy standing next to him? Yeah. Now see the guy standing next to him in the chariot waiting for the race to begin? Yeah. That's her. Oh, that's her? Yeah. Oh, he's one of those.
But yeah, it's the Who's on First sketch.
Yep.
As translated by SCTV.
That's it.
As Abbott and Costello in Ben-Hur. So they're like recasting the movie and then doing impressions within it of those cats. It's the multi of it, but that's Who's on First. Her. Well, I can't see. Who is she? No, there's no she, you know. I keep closing the wrong screen here. See, I need a producer. So, I mean, other things that they did that were, I don't have a clip of necessarily all of them, but Fantasy Island.
Oh my gosh.
So they did an entire Fantasy Island thing.
Oh, I can just imagine.
They did...
the makeup they do on these shows, you can tell who the character is right away.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Ricardo Montalban. I think they had another sketch where it was Ricardo Montalban's School of Acting, which was and then they had John Candy playing Dirty Harry, except it was actually it was called Filthy Harry Filth. That was it, Harry Filth. Look at the size of the gun.
Look at the size of that gun.
And the joke in this was, he says, I would blow away 100 innocent people to get one bad guy off the street. Harry Filth, rated PIG. But yeah.
Oh man.
Leave It to Beaver. They did an entire Leave It to Beaver show, which basically showed all the characters years later, and like one's in
25th
prison
anniversary party. Reunion show. Oh.
Yeah, we did Plainclothes Mountie, of course.
Yes.
Polynesian Town. Now, this was the one that bankrupted SCTV, much to Guy Caballero's disgust, with Johnny LaRue. It was his magnum opus, Polynesian Town. Taxi Driver, we saw a clip of, starring Woody Allen and Bob Hope. The Grapes of Mud was an interesting one, which was it was the reverse from the Grapes of Wrath. Everyone's fleeing California to go to Oklahoma. So how far ahead of their time were they?
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And Joe Flaherty starred as Henry Fondue in this. Henry
Christian
Fondue.
threw you another.
So Christian, $2 super chat from our great friend Christian, and the guest star Robin Williams played Preacher, or was it Preacher? Yeah, Robin Williams guested. Bill Murray was in an episode once as well. There was a few guests, real guests, not fake guests.
Mm-hmm.
There was also another one. Another spoof they did was, and I've got to read this out because it's so good. I couldn't even remember. So it's the man who would be the king of the popes, It starred Peter O'Toole, Richard Harris, and Katharine Hepburn, and Richard Burton. And of course, it's the cast playing those guys. You can see John Candy with it. And through those impressions, but it ended with a meta, all three of them being blown up in the Nod to Farm film report. But the man who would be king of the popes. Richard Harris was regularly on the end of a drubbing from Dave Thomas. He did a whole thing spoofing MacArthur Park.
Oh my God.
The song. Richard Harris, the singer, he was vicious with them. We have our great friend Salty Traveling Sea, 99-cent super sticker, hot dog with ketchup. Thanks for being here, buddy. But yeah, the spoof of Chinatown was Polynesia Town. That's right. And just so much meta stuff going on in these. That's the man who would be king of the popes. And a spoof of Towering Inferno. The devil's towering upside down inferno.
Yeah, it's like the building's real skinny.
That's right. It's the narrowest building, and they're all trying to get out.
I'm gonna have to look that up and watch that. I love that movie, man. That ought to be funny.
Each cast member plays multiple roles, trying to escape the world's thinnest, tallest building after it catches on fire. And Andrea Martin is the only female cast member at this point, so she's they're forced to use doubles when two women appear in the same shot. And John Candy actually says, "You take the Edith Prickly double, and I'll take the other girl and get out of here." So they actually joke about the fact that she's playing. There's only one woman in the cast, and then the building has a nuclear reactor on the top of the building and a spinning restaurant above it.
Yeah,
that's too good, man. I'm gonna have to check that out.
On the top of the
Oh my god, that's too good.
And then we did the whatever.
Oh
Happened to
yeah, you
Baby
showed
Ed,
that
of
one.
course. Whatever happened to Baby Ed is just these are all just such incredible parodies of.
Of course, you could get away with a lot more back then too.
Oh yeah.
You
So
know.
I got another little one I wanted to show, which a little clip and video, which is one of the early ones they did, which is a spoof of A Fistful of Dollars.
Oh my god!
It's A Fistful of Ugly. And it's not necessarily the funniest one they did, but it's just a neat little clip which shows their Python-esque side, because it's a face-off, which doesn't really.
I think you're right. It was a mashup.
Yeah,
Yep.
It doesn't really. This tense face-off between the two doesn't really go the way you think it will.
A fistful of ugly. Gary, you're pretty fast with the draw. Maybe yes, maybe no. But let's see how fast you are. You say when? How about tomorrow at 9 o'clock? No good, I'll be out of town at 7. Well, I got to reach Black Bart at 1. I'm getting a haircut at 2:30. The afternoon's pretty well shot, I think. No good around 5? No, I'm real tied up. 7 o'clock, I'm going out for dinner, so... Well, that's it then. I'm not going to be in town for another month. Well, maybe next time you're back. It's the best
Say when, yeah. And part of that joke, of course, was that they wanted, the station, SCTV, wanted everything to be PG, so they couldn't do the shootout because it would be too...
Right.
It would get the
They
rating.
got to get away from the shootout.
To avoid doing the shootout. You know. So
that's crazy.
That was a good one.
Crazy. These guys are
I think
crazy.
Yeah, just unbelievable stuff. So they did some real occasional specials. I just wanted to touch on briefly. They had some really clever show specials. There was one show where they were taken over by a Russian station, which hacked their signal, and they had like giant microphones, like were 3 times. This was and the camera was huge because it was the Soviet micro camera, and it was like 3 times the size of the studio. CCCP1 was the station. Look at the haircuts. And they were like Bob and Doug McKenzie. They spoofed it because they were doing that. They were always impressed with their toques. Well, these guys were impressed with their new shoes. You know, so that would be the whole show. They took over the whole, and then they did one of probably their finest examples of that was they did this 1984 parody show. Where on the stroke of midnight in 1983, the station was taken over by, I think it was called Telescreen, and it was all Orwellian. Like Big Brother was suspiciously like Orson Welles, of course, for some reason.
Wow.
They did that entire show like that, and it was actually kind of spooky, not just funny. You know, they were
right.
They were really. It was the only network so in the future, not 1984, Telescreen is the only channel, and they put a warning up: do not adjust your telescreen. Big Brother is watching you.
All right.
A brilliant idea.
Sounds like they went Twilight Zone. Is what it sounds like.
Yeah, I think you might be right. The Back to the Future face off with Michael J. Fox, where he doesn't really want to fight.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, the 1984 one is possibly their most edgy thing they ever did, because it was pretty spooky when you look at it now.
Mm-hmm.
And then here's a little piece of trivia for you. You might not recognize the guy at the very bottom. This is Second City on Stage, and you've even got like Bill Murray at the back there or whatever.
He looks familiar. I've seen him before.
At the bottom, I think his name is David Fraish. And he appeared on one episode of the show, and then he went on to be in one of my favorite parody shows of all time, Sledgehammer.
Yes.
He was the star.
Okay. That's why he looks
I was fixing to
familiar.
say, I know I'd seen him on a lot of stuff. Yeah. Mhm.
David Rash, sorry, R-A-S-C-H-E. I keep calling him Fresh for some reason. He went on to star in Sledgehammer. He appeared in one episode of SCTV. So there's a bit of trivia for you.
That's Bill Murray over there behind.
Bill
John
Murray
Candy,
is
yeah.
in that one. Yeah, so that's just a little spoof, sort of clip of the stage stuff, you know. So, one of the shows we haven't tackled yet was, we've mentioned it, was the horror show parody. Of course.
That's great stuff.
Yeah.
So we're
Count
just,
Floyd.
Yeah, Count Floyd, Dr. Tongue, and Bruno.
Yeah, I was fixing to say, it's John Candy and.
No, it suffered a bit when so Dr. Horror's Chiller Monster Hour, I always get it wrong.
Yeah.
So the Monster Chiller Horror Theatre, some of them in 3D. So it suffered a bit when the season that John Candy wasn't there, because I don't think Count Floyd could really carry it on his own. But when he came back, so we're going to show a couple of clips from that, and my favorite one, which is the 3D House of Stewardesses.
Oh man, House of Stewardesses.
And funny, because Count Floyd really gets interested in this one.
I'm sure.
3D House of Stewardesses, and it was the 3D again is just them shoving stuff up to the camera. Let's show a couple of clips from that, if you guys are okay. That we're
great.
I hope everybody in the chat is enjoying these clips. It's very.
They're loving it, man.
fortunate.
They're chatting it up every time you show a clip.
Yeah, hang on. Just before I show that, our great friend Danius is joining us. How are you, buddy?
All right.
Hey. I heard someone say 3D, and
yeah,
I used my teleport power.
Simulated 3D, the 3D wad of money, the 3D cats. We're just about, Darius, my friend, to show a couple of clips from the excellent 3D House of Stewardesses, where Dr. Tongue's plan was to capture a bunch of humans to use as zombies, slaves, and he just happens to pick stewardesses for some reason. So let's show a couple of clips. Let's start. This is the intro clip to that particular episode. Is it showing? No, hang on. Well, there we go. I got the wrong one. There we go.
You're gonna get there.
I mean, he's a vampire. Why is he howling?
It's covering all his bases.
Count Floyd here, reminding you to stay tuned to Monster Chiller Horror Theater this Saturday night, when we'll be presenting a 3D classic, Dr. Tongue's 3D House of Stewardesses.
Stewardesses.
Yes. My experiment is almost complete. All I need now is the human body for my operation. And then my name will go alongside some of the greatest scientists in history. Bruno!
Eugene Levy.
Bruno! Go out and find me a human body.
Yeah, and then
wow,
it just that gives you an idea of the style of the every episode and the intro to it. But then this show takes this particular episode takes a very interesting turn with the second clip that I'm going to play. I had to split them up, unfortunately, otherwise we'd have 6 minutes worth. Let's look at how his zombie experiment turns out with the stewardesses.
Oh man!
You can't find anything there?
Oh, this is the 3D.
Yes, 3D phone book.
And Catherine O'Hara looking very stewardessy there. Rip and tear, Bruno, rip and tear. Cheers, Lord Thoth. Thanks for being here, poser.
Bruno, it worked. I turned those stewardesses into zombies. Now they'll obey our every command. The only problem is I think the experiment worked too well.
Would you like another screwdriver, Doctor?
No, we've got a lot here. We don't need it.
Why don't we leave these ones with you in case you feel like one later?
Yes, of course.
Shall I get you another pillow?
No. Okay, all right. Give me another pillow.
May I have your attention, please?
Yes.
There are
Bruno,
four
wake up, come on.
exits to the night. 2 in the front and 2 in the back. Il y en a 2 en avant et 2.
Yeah, it's so fun. I don't know how to even describe a sketch like that, and you couldn't do it now.
No, you couldn't. You remember it was a big deal when Jane Curtin ripped her shirt off in the middle of the news on Saturday Night Live that one time. It was huge news.
God, that's so funny.
Yeah.
So the other thing, I mean, that is one of the main regular ones that people remember. As
well, there's your Benny Hill influence too.
Oh yeah. Now they did do. We're heading towards the top of the hour, so and as I say, we could do 10 shows on SCTV, but I did want to cover a couple more things just before we start to wrap up, which is music. They did a lot of music stuff, they had musical guests on, like real guests, various, but that was from season 4 onwards with the NBC stuff. But they also did a lot of music spoofs and created musical acts themselves. I think one of my favorites, let me just find the images. Forgive me for just taking a few seconds to get more of these images up on the screen. So, one that's I absolutely adore, and it's inspired a few things, is the 5 Neat Guys. Now, this was like a doo-wop vocal group from the 50s, but absurdly clean cut to look at. But their songs were like, she's got the biggest breasts in town, or who made the egg salad sandwiches? She does it. There's another she does it.
Oh my God.
I've got a hickey on my shoulder. It's great. It's funny, when I see this, I think of Darius. I don't know why.
Because they appear more clean cut than they are.
Yes, yeah. And one of them's a drunk. I think it's Rick Moranis, or is it Joe Flaherty? One of them's a real drunk as well. The 5 Neat Guys.
Oh my God.
And it actually inspired, I know there's a Scottish show called Chewing the Fat where they had 4 old boys sitting in the bar singing dirty songs. I think it was inspired by this. So I do love these guys, and they used them in a number of things, but there's promos for albums of theirs, and we're gonna show a little 5 Neat Guys sketch, and just look for the titles. Listen for the titles of the songs.
Oh good Lord. Brace yourself, folks.
5 Neat Guys, neatest hits. Here we go. So let's get this on the screen.
It's December the 1st, and I'm starting to hurt, 'cause I can't get a date for New Year's.
20 years later, the neatest sound of the 50s from the neatest guys of the 50s come back to life in a spectacular new album.
Who made the egg salad sandwiches?
50 of the neatest hits from 5 of the neatest guys. Yes, it's the 5 Neat Guys' neatest hits. Remember, let's have a party in my rec room.
Let's have a party in my rec room.
And on the same album,
I won't take just any girl around, 'cause Patsy has the largest breasts in town.
yes, Patsy has the largest breasts in town. You'll also hear, should I kiss her goodnight? My mom framed my high school diploma. Slow dance anyone, and she does it.
My mom framed my high school diploma.
She
You'll
does
also hear my dad's car. Let's have a party in my rec room. Who put the pennies in my loafers? And I'm the goof in the classroom.
It's frighteningly. Look at them. They're frightening.
Oh man, yeah. Look, they're staring at you like they're serial killers. It's ridiculous.
Yes, 50 of the world's neatest songs from 5 of the world's neatest guys. It's K-Tel's 5 Neat Guys' neatest hits.
K-Tel,
of course.
Harvey K-Tel's doing the voiceover.
Yes.
So don't step on my clip-on tie.
It's 5 Neat Guys' neatest hits.
Just step around that
Oh god, that's funny.
You got a couple of people leaving, man. Christian
All right,
said bye
Christian.
to you, and so did David
Thanks,
Glenn.
Christian. Thanks, buddy, for being here. Really appreciate all the super chats. You're a great guy. This was fun. Thanks, guys. No, it's fun having you here, buddy, and everybody in the chats. You've all been fantastic. We're not quite done yet, though. We're not quite done yet.
Don't go anywhere.
We're doomed.
So thank you, Christian. Yes. So one of the other, I mean, there's so many musical acts. Thanks, David, for being here. Your chats have been brilliant. Appreciate it, mate. Someone's coming to look at his e-bike and possibly purchase it. Well, let's hope it's not someone from SCTV, because you never know what might happen. So another one of these great musical acts, though, was the Schmengi Brothers.
Oh my God!
Who can also, so the Happy Wanderers is the polka band, the Schmengi Brothers. You can actually see those in a movie, The Last Polka. I did have the vinyl album for it. I can't seem to find it. I think it went missing in one of my moves, but they had a whole movie called The Last Polka, and they did pop up on other shows as well, the Schmengis. This is a picture from the John Williams tribute they did.
Oh my God!
This is Jaws, and they were dressing. But there's The Last Polka. It's actually a really funny movie. It's really good. It's in the style of the things that the Spinal Tap guys did later with Eugene Levy, like Waiting for Guffman and so on. But yeah, these guys are a lot of laughs. A John Candy and polka. I mean, what an iconic duo. So let's show a little video clip of the Schmengi Brothers in action, because I do have one. Oh, here we go. This is from their John Williams tribute, and when they dress up, of course, to do it.
Can you guess where we're from when we're wearing these costumes? We're from the outer space.
But the music's always the same.
Star Wars, you've been living in the outer space. Stand? Star Wars was the movie that made lots of money. Some of it going to its composer, John Williams, whose tribute we're paying tonight. So, here is the music from the Star Wars.
The music's always the same for every song.
Same music, right? Oh my God!
Kid Candy.
Too much.
So that's the Schmengis, and they made a few appearances.
Say the Harry Handers.
Yeah, it's the Happy Wanderers, but there's something. Yeah, there was multiple names for the shows they were in, but they did a bunch of stuff, and so the music was a big part of it. Lawrence Welk show, they spoofed a lot of stuff like that, very successfully. So I think we've probably covered. I mean, this is nothing but a primer. I mean,
You're just skimming the surface of it, man.
We are doing nothing but skim there. I wish I'm sure there was a clip I didn't play, and I wish I could find it. I think I got that one. Oh yeah, so the other music clip is just briefly before we do wrap it all up. They did have other music parodies. This is one I think I played on another live stream we did. It was their punk parody, and they had shows like Mel Slurup's, disco show, and they had the recurring Mel Slurup character who hosted music shows. And of course, they had dancers, and they had dancers that couldn't dance, was the joke. So the dancers literally couldn't dance. And then Mel was so unhip, but he was trying to play all the hip modern stuff. And they had real acts like the Plasmatics on, and the Tubes. And they were quite cutting edge with some of the stuff they had. But so this is the Queen Haters.
Predicts the internet. It's a series of tubes.
Yeah. Well, speaking of internet, there's a Rick Moranis, I think a Rick Moranis commercial, which is all about a product which allows you to buy things through your television.
Wow.
And you can order a movie and buy products through your TV. Now, the box that they're selling is 3 times the size of the television.
Right.
kind of predictive, you know.
Yeah.
Kind of predictive.
Yeah.
So let's see the Queen haters, and I hate the bloody Queen. This is a bit broader.
That Martin Short, yeah.
It is, yeah. John Kenny on the drums. Mel is just
right.
The dancers can't do anything either.
Oh, look out.
It's just hilarious.
These guys are too much, man. They're crazy.
Anyway. Yeah, so what a great show. And you can get, I mean, there are DVDs, Blu-rays. The problem was that they took the original shows and they often chopped them up for syndication and threw them out. You have to see them in, to be honest, the complete show sometimes to get the running gags that go through it.
Yeah.
So a lot of people have seen the chopped up best-ofs and whatever, and they don't make as much sense. So try and seek out the original shows if you can in the right order, because you get those recurring storylines. The characters grow throughout the seasons. Yeah, great stuff. I mean, you can buy some of them. Those on physical.
They have
media.
arcs.
They had arcs. They had 6-season arcs for characters.
Yeah.
They didn't just let them kind of wither on the vine, you know. I mean, they tried a lot. They tried a lot of stuff. Often it didn't work. But that's the nature of a sketch-based
That
show.
is what happens with sketch comedy.
Science,
I mean,
man.
even
Science,
the
man.
not ready for time players in their prime had stinkers. I mean,
Oh,
you
yeah.
know,
Monty
not
Python.
everything they did was awesome. Yeah,
If you watch the Monty Python television series,
the Flying Circus. Yeah, you'd see a lot of silly
some
stuff.
of them just
Yeah.
fall flat in their face. It's the good ones you remember, and you've got to try. Artists have to be able to try. I do want to recommend, if somebody wants to read more about the show, this is a book I have that is really interesting, and it's an episode by, I'm going to just up on the screen, episode by episode guide by a guy called Jeff Robbins, and it goes through every season, every episode, and there's a lot of great backstory in it. Dave Thomas himself wrote a book about his time at SCTV, which is out there too. This one's really good though, and it tells you about every episode. And he's brutal. The guy's like, "This is great. This is shit." So he tells you the shit ones.
Hindsight, they can do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's a great book. I mean, it's a lot of fascinating information in it. But yeah, highly influential show. There's a ton of shows since we could probably quote that learned a lot from it. Basically, if you put that and Python together, and then some of SNL, you've got the primer for every sketch-based show ever.
Yeah. And it spawned several others. I mean, we talked about earlier. Fridays was one they tried on ABC, and Mad TV, I think, was Fox's venture into it. And
In Living Color.
In Living Color. Yeah, that one actually made it to prime time. That was a half-hour show on prime time. But I'm leaning more towards the stuff that was after hours. But you know, nobody did it as well as those original guys, though. But the two, and when I think of sketch comedy, I always think of Monty Python, Second City Television, and the original Not Ready for Primetime Players on Saturday Night Live. That's who I think of.
So following the show, I mean, obviously we know Strange Brew was a movie, and Bob and Doug did a lot of stuff. Martin Short carried Ed Grimley onto SNL and kept that character going. The Schmengies made the movie The Last Polka.
I think there's even an Ed Grimley movie.
There is Ed. Yeah, I think there is. And Flaherty and Levy stayed on Cinemax for a number of shows for years. Like they did an Enigma Bobby Bittman special, and so they continued on Cinemax, which was the last place SCTV ended up. There was an ABC special in 1988, which had some new Flaherty and Andrea Martin material. And then the Netflix thing was mentioned, which hopefully will one day happen, this Martin Scorsese thing, because it would be nice to see a real high-budget production paying tribute to this show.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was funny. I mean, you know, good Lord.
These guys deserve a lot of plaudits. I would urge everyone. It's all, a lot of stuff is on YouTube. Go check it out.
We need to get a reunion show before we lose any more.
Right.
I know. Well, there's at least 2 major players going there already. So,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah. So, any last words, gentlemen, about this wonderful show?
No, just I love the stuff. I have not seen it as much as our Canadian viewers have, but the little bits I've seen of it are hilarious. Of course, when Strange Brew came out, I researched Bob and Doug McKenzie and found everything I could on those guys, and got to see some of the other characters like John Candy's and what's the other guy's name? The tall guy. I always forget his name. Levy, is that his name?
Joe Flaherty. Oh,
Flaherty.
Eugene Levy. Eugene Levy.
No,
and
I
Joe
was thinking of Flaherty though. You said the right one. The horror show, because
Count Floyd.
You got to have something like that in there, you know. And Saturday Night Live used to try and do it, but that's the better one. The one from SCTV is the best. But I mean, everybody knows about that local friggin' TV personality that shows you the horror movies on the weekends. At least they did when we were kids, right? And that's what it's a send up of, and it's just awesome, man. Yeah, I love it, and I'm definitely going to get into it more, especially now that I found out that Harold Ramis was attached to it. I had no clue he was in that cast.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
Major player in getting it going, absolutely. And the material he wrote, which lasted even after he left throughout the second season, was excellent. He's a great writer. They suffered a little bit towards the end of the second season because they ran out of his material, and yeah, and the show had its ups and downs, but I think the golden era was like seasons 3 and 4 were just magnificent. Yeah. Well, thanks, guys. Have you, gentlemen, got anything you would like to plug before we say goodbye to the chat?
Nah, so my lineup's on my channel, but definitely subscribe to everybody on the channel for sure.
Yeah, let's say go to Joe and subscribe. John, what have you got to plug?
Yeah, I am streaming tomorrow at 4 Central. I'll probably pick up. It depends if anything happens tonight. Maybe do a little bit of news, you know, pop culture news. But then I'm going to be streaming Baldur's Gate 3.
All right, yeah.
There you go.
Just the bare necessities.
Sex.
Just the bare
no bear
necessities.
sex. No bear sex.
No bear sex. Okay.
Well, I'm not watching them. I want the bear sex.
He wants to see the mod with the sheep in there. That's what he wants to do.
Imperatus, my friend, now that you've seen some of that material, what do you think?
It's definitely funny stuff. I'm going to have to look into it. You know, some of those, Harold Ramis is one of my favorite comedians as far as movies go. So, and same with John Candy. Those two guys especially were in a lot of my favorite movies growing up.
Yeah, they did produce a number of guys that were stars and went on to greater things, and they learned a lot from being in this show, I think.
Oh, I would imagine so, yeah.
Just for the pressure cooker of having to write and produce a weekly show is like a crucible, if you like, of comedy. So I think those guys learned a lot, and they took a lot of characters away as well and did. So Imp, what have you got coming up in the near future? Anything?
Not much this coming week or so.
Okay. Well, have a nice quiet week then.
One can hope. My life doesn't seem to work like that, though.
No. Life's like that. Darius, my friend, thank you for jumping in. Have you got anything going on?
I just want to say, don't listen to this guy. He's a hoser, eh?
Hoser, eh? Hose head. Yeah,
Not Hose Head. That's a different show. That's Welcome Back, Cotter.
Yeah, I had a list of catchphrases from the show somewhere. And I don't know what I've done with it now. I've got 15 pages of notes here, so it could be anywhere.
For taking so many notes.
Very funny.
I think
I like those the best.
Yeah, exactly. I think we'll revisit SCTV way down the line on Cult Comedy Crew.
You could do an entire show just about the commercials they did.
Could,
and stuff like that. I mean, it's ridiculous, man. But such a treasure trove of fun stuff. It really is.
Yeah, I mean, the next one, we're trying to do a cult comedy crew every month. Last one was Blackadder. The first one we've done this. I think next one, my feeling is I'd like to do Kentucky Fried Movie.
Yes, one of my
So
favorite movies of all time.
Yeah, let's do one movie and we can do a show on that. And that would be, we'd have a British, a Canadian, and an American thing then. So
yep,
that'll be next month. But this week on Thursday, I've got another show with the Rock and Roll Rowdies on their channel. This time they're going to be talking about some of the iconic venues that they've done gigs at, like the Royal Albert Hall, Madison Square Garden, the Fillmores, stuff like that, and bands that they worked with in those. So that should be
Was
a lot
it last
of fun.
week I saw you on their channel?
Yeah, they were doing their first American tours last week. Lots more stuff coming up with those guys as well. There's a ton of ideas that we're working on. So, yeah. And then next week, well, let's leave next week. It'll be a music show. I think I might do Genesis, but we'll see. I want to talk about Genesis, but
the whole arc of Genesis,
the whole Genesis,
beginning to the end,
everything.
Okay. All right.
It's either that or Stevie Ray.
You want to talk about something? You want to talk about something you can talk about for hours, right there. Yeah. That band right there.
And then next, I think the week after that, we're going to do another Canon Film Club, and this time I'm definitely going to do He-Man and the Masters of the Universe.
Oh, look out, Dolph Lundgren at the height of his powers.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
So that's the stuff that's coming up. I would like to thank the wonderful chat who've been here today. And the mods who did great work on the modding side, D-Bud, and Sentient Dildo, and others that were modding. Thank you everyone for being here. Davina, Small Time, Salty, Larry was here. Obviously Christian, our wonderful buddy Christian. We had RJ Godzilla, David Glenn, and forgive me if I miss anybody, Jonah Hex, who's been here since the beginning. We mentioned Salty. Throw some names at me, people.
Lord Thoth.
Lord Thoth, yeah.
Davina Duckworth.
Davina, for sure. FKHC 2005 has been here. We mentioned RG Godzilla.
Yeah, Sentient Dildo was in the chat being Croatian, so he was around.
He was being around.
Thomas.
Eclay, yeah. Lindsay. Forgot about Lindsay, the cynical Greek.
WG.
WG, of course. Thank you, WG, for. By the way, speaking of WG, I think Bram and I are going to do a one-off bourbon and boarding this Saturday night. The off-season bourbon and boarding hockey. We're going to just keep the show going and catch up by having a special this Saturday.
Yeah, I'm sure hockey's a lot like the NFL. You've probably already got news coming out of it, I'm sure.
Oh, there's a bunch of news to talk about. Yeah, trades and stuff. Larry was here. I do apologize if I miss anybody, but the chat has been brilliant. We had 25, 30 people at one point watching the show live, a bunch of people over in Rumble. Mark D with the C. Mark, hey, good to see you, buddy. This show and other shows we do wouldn't be here without the chat and your great contribution and everything, the wonderful stuff that you say. So thank you. I appreciate it very much. We have fun. It's not just our show, it's your show too. So until next time, it's time to just play one more little clip before we play the outro.
She did it. She blowed up. She blowed up good. She really did it. She blowed up good. Blowed up real good.
We're blowed up this show real good. So thank you once again, everyone. I hope you all have a fantastic week. We'll all talk again soon. Till then, stay well. Keep on rocking.